Everybody, what's going on, everybody in the beautiful Twitter X and YouTube world? This is GunzPicks, aka The Gun, aka the Point Guard of Podcasting, aka the self-proclaimed CFB GOAT. Well, lately I haven't been that way. If you were on the SMU first half last night, that one hurt. Exact opposite happened in that one, which is kind of remarkable with those trends. But I digress. We move on, and we're on to the Saturday slate. So basically, if you haven't been here before, this is Saturday mornings with GunzPicks. I am here for you guys, and if you guys bring the plays to the chat, I'll bring the opinions. Also, we will be talking. I'll be adding 3 more plays to my card that I'll be giving out periodically during the show. And we'll have a cup of coffee parlay as well for you guys to enjoy on that one, as I forgot to put it into the banners this morning, but I will give it out regardless. I do have a parlay today, and we'll be talking about the top 25 plays. May have some guests, may not have some guests. Had some scheduling issues with the regulars on this one, so we will see if Mike M might show up on this one, but we will see. But you still got me, the GUNZ, as we make sure we give shout outs to the chat. Justin joining us here today says, take Penn State plus 4.5 as I'm wearing the hat on today. Also, he says, make sure you hit the like button as well. And I say the same thing. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can support us as we keep moving along in the Twitterverse and YouTubeverse. Another massive week, not too many left. Yes, we have to enjoy every single remarkable Saturday because this season goes by way too fast. Next thing you know, it's bowl season, and next thing you know, there's no more football. Smitty in the chat says, morning, and of course, Wine Time joining us this morning. Let's give him the horn in there. Says, what's up, son? Big day today. Let's get it, brother. So, got to talk about a lot of these plays here today. Big slate, a lot of ranked teams on this one. I'm going to start this off with just talking about a little top 25 play. We got to talk about Michigan. We got to talk about Penn State on this one. This is a 12 p.m. game. Should be a night game. Should be a whiteout game. I guess it's going to be a stripe out from what I heard. I guess, you got your blues and you got your whites in this one. Crowd should be rocking there in at Penn State in Happy Valley. And I kind of like the Penn State side on this one. Listen, a lot of scuttlebugs going around with Harbaugh not going to be there. Have to deal with the suspension and all the allegations that are going on with stealing signs. The defensive coordinator also chirping on social media, making fun of the sign stealing at Michigan. So a lot of the back and forth in this one, turning it into a pretty decent scripted narrative type of game. I like the Penn State side, though. This is the same line that we basically saw with the Ohio State line, but it was on the road with Penn State, and they couldn't get it done. Kept it real close. But I think this is the time for Penn State to get up the snide, beat a top-tiered opponent, top 10 opponent. I mean, I know Franklin doesn't really have the best record versus these teams, but I think this is the spot here. Michigan has not been challenged all season long. Penn State has a remarkable defense. Offensive side, they're going to have to run the ball. We need to see a little bit of Drew Aller on this one to step up into this role. And if he's going to be the guy for Penn State, the Nittany Lions in the future, we need to see it today. So I like the Penn State side on this one at plus 4.5. Looking at the board here, I think the line right now, there we go. I'm seeing 4.5 across the board still. So I did get it at 4.5 last night. Just a small little play on this one, just to keep it a little interesting. Not an official play, but I got a little bit of pizza money, as they say, on that game. Going back to the chat, it looks like Wine Time is jumping in here. Says the under 45 today with Penn State versus Michigan. Don't hate that one at all. I think if Penn State's going to win this game, they're going to have to do it from the trenches. They're going to have to go beat each other up. And Michigan's defense is really solid too. But they're going to have to really stop that heavy run play, Blake Corum and the crew. So hopefully they change their signs on this one. So whatever they have under their wing on this one is going to be not conducive to the play calling that what Penn State's going to bring today. Justin says, at Happy Valley with the gang, big money on the plus. Got him this live show, but good luck. Hell yeah, brother. Shout out to Happy Valley. Great place to go. I got some friends out there going to this game, so it's going to be a definitely electric game here at 12 o'clock. We'll be on the TV, and I will be sitting attentively watching that one because of the playoff implications that are going to be going on with that one. So going into some of these plays today, I don't know how long I'm going to be going the show. I'll go as long as you guys want me to go. As long as you guys are putting stuff in the chat, I will talk to you guys. I'll give you my opinions on stuff. I'm going to be talking about the top 25 regardless as we go along with the show. I'm going to give my picks. I'm going to give you the parlay. But if we go 35, 45 minutes, chat is really silent, I'm going to have to go shut it down. So please get into the chat and share. Don't be shy. And if you're watching over here on Twitter, I can't see anything that you're putting into the chat. Unfortunately, StreamYard doesn't work that way. So you're going to have to go over to the Shark Waters Nation channel and join us there and engage in the chat. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe while you are there. Another game that's going to be on this slate today. I thought this was kind of an interesting one here. Texas Tech versus Kansas. Kansas going back home. Really having a remarkable season, exceeding expectations from the books, getting over that win total fairly easy on this one. Playing exceptional ball right now, playing hot. They're going against a Texas Tech team that's kind of, in my opinion, a disappointment this season. A lot of changeover with the quarterback issues, injuries kind of affected that one. Having to go to the third string quarterback in a couple games. Not the most ideal situation there for Texas Tech. They're going on the road to go play this Kansas team. Kansas is favored in this spot here. I'm seeing 39% of the tickets, 63% of the money on Texas Tech. Looks like Texas Tech is the sharp side on this one. The number is -4. I don't really have a take on this one. Texas Tech on the road kind of scares me. I like them at home. I just think this is one of those teams that even if it feels like the sharp side, Texas Tech will always let you down or find a way to let you down. And Kansas is just playing a little bit too hot for me to go and jump on them. Especially, I'd rather fade them on the road than take them than fade them at home per se. Very exceptional team. Leipold is doing a tremendous job with that program, and I think this is just a complete stay away for me on this one and watch and see. And yeah, Wine Time says it here. He goes, I want to take Texas Tech but State off. I'm in the same boat on this one. It's really hard to trust this team if they're not playing at Lubbock, Texas. I want to just let this game pass, and I think everybody should. The line is sitting here at -4. It's a weird number there. It could go either way, either direction on this one. And I know I believe Texas Tech did beat them last season. So I'm gonna. This is a complete pass for me. Maybe a little bit of a revenge factor on the Kansas side, playing at home in front of their crowd. The place should be rocking now. I mean, after beating Oklahoma, Kansas has a football program now. They're not just a basketball school anymore, and that's thanks to Leipold on that one. So complete pass for me. Wine Time is asking some questions in here. Why is Arizona only -10 coming off huge wins? I think with the Arizona side on this one, I looked at that one and I kind of felt like that was a fade spot for them going on the road, playing a Colorado team that really is what they're playing as how I expected them to play at this juncture. I didn't expect them to ever win 4 wins at all. I'm just looking at the line here for them if I can find it. Arizona. Bear with me here. There it is right there. So, playing at 2:00, a little bit of an early start for them coming on the West Coast. Colorado's kind of used to those starts on that one. I think I like when Arizona is playing as a dog. They've been playing as a dog for most of the season this year, especially versus a lot of these strong Pac-12 teams. Now you see them sitting here as a high favorite on the road versus a Colorado team kind of hungry for a win. It's nothing that I want to touch personally because, quite frankly, Colorado's defense is not their FCS level. maybe even MAC level of a defense. They're just even not there yet. Offensively, very skilled. Shador Sanders and that crew, Travis Hunter. Uh, they're they're an exceptional group, but I'm not going to be jumping in front of. I'm not going to be taking them as a dog versus an Arizona team that is just covering left and right no matter what. Seeing this line here as a double-digit favorite, though, is something that we haven't seen with Arizona all season long. Just going to be a complete pass for me. I want to actually see Arizona in this spot situationally, double-digit favorite on the road. Are you that good of a team that people think you are, or are you going to fall flat in this spot versus Deion Sanders' boys on the road in Colorado? Complete pass for me on this one. I'm just gonna watch attentively on this one. However, if we're talking picks, let me give you one here. And this is a game that I like today. We talked about it last night. Shark is on it as well. I didn't give it out because I had to short my list to 6, but I'm going to add it here in the morning here. App State versus Georgia State. This game does kick off at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to be on the Georgia State side, and let me tell you why. App State coming off back-to-back wins over Southern Miss versus Marshall. Marshall in their last game, they dominated them 31-9 with a plus 161 net yards, plus 3 turnover ratio in that game. Marshall, like we said last night, is a team that is a falling knife. Do not catch it. Let that knife fall to the ground and further. Now you got Georgia State on this one coming off back-to-back losses versus Georgia Southern and JMU. Very tough teams. So take that with a grain of salt in that one. But they were 5-1 straight up before going into those two spots. Their last game versus JMU was getting dominated, 42-14 loss, minus 339 net yards, plus 1 turnover ratio. But we know who JMU is. JMU is one of the toughest teams in the G5s. Now you have Georgia State at home. Not good numbers as far as point differential is concerned, minus 1 point differential, but they played 2 teams at home this season, and consider it this. They played Troy, a really good team. They lost by 21, and JMU. So those are the 2 home games that are in that sample size. But the rest of their home games, once you take those two powerhouses out, they have a plus 15 point differential versus the rest of their opponents at home. So don't look at the whole entire statistic when you're looking at their home games. Look at who they played. So they're playing an App State team that is well below I would say, the Troy and the JMU level. App State has struggled versus conference opponents. They're 2-11 ATS versus conference opponents in that span. They did cover last week versus Marshall, but that's the first time they've covered in a long time, and that stat comes dating back to 2022. So they're not very good versus conference opponents. But Georgia State has never beaten App State at all. So this is a big, highly motivational spot here. They're 0-9 straight up, 2-6-1 ATS versus them. But this is the first time they've been favored versus App State. So consider that mess. Georgia State lost to them last season, 42-17 as 9.5 point road dogs, and now they're favored. So there's a big line swing from year 1 to year 2, 12 points to be exact. And you got the revenge factor. You have the fact that they've never beaten App State before, so a highly motivated spot. They keep receipts. It's a full revenge game. They're favored for the first time versus App State after getting crushed by JMU, getting beat by Georgia Southern. They're going to be ready to step up into the spot and win as a favorite at home. I love the spot here for Georgia State. Give me them at minus 2.5 unit special. All right, as we get back to the chat, and I say, everybody, if you're watching right now, you're watching later, please like and subscribe to the Striker Warriors Nation channel. Like this video so we can keep pushing the brand forward to everybody across all nations and countries and worlds. A little sip of the old Sanka this morning. Let's get back into this beautiful slate here today. If there's any games that you want me to talk about, please put them into the chat. I will give my opinion the best way possible. I've at least looked at these games for minimum 2 minutes. Minimum 2 minutes. Some games I just look at and I know it's a pass right off the bat. But I have looked at it and I still do have an opinion on it. This is an interesting one here. 2 ranked opponents on this one. Utah versus Washington. This game tips off at 3:30 p.m. Interesting spot here. You know, you got Washington with playoff implications, kind of playing flat in the last 4 weeks, in my opinion, kind of playing to the level of the competition, some weak competition at that. And they really haven't been tested on the offensive side. And what I mean by that is the defenses that they have faced aren't the strongest defenses in the country. However, today they have to face the Utah defense. Utah's defense is exceptional. They can hold their opponents to under 300 yards of total offense. That is the strength of their team, considering the fact that you still don't have Cameron Rising. They still have the quarterback issues. But I think what Utah is going to try to do is slow this game up and control the time of possession. I think this Washington team could be shocked here at home versus Utah, a defense that they haven't seen all season. Eventually, in my opinion, whether it's this week or it's the next 2 or 3 weeks on this one, or if it's the Pac-12 championship, I think there's a loss waiting for them somewhere on this board. This spot seems a little bit fitting on this one. Utah's defense is going to be the catalyst and the driver of this game, in my opinion. If they're able to make the stops and give Penix fits, I think it's going to be a spot that we have to be jumping on the Utah side. Not an official play for me, but I kind of lean on the dog here with Utah as I'm looking at the current line on this one. It looks like they're 7.5, 8-point dogs sitting here. Yeah, I mean, it's a lean towards Utah. I think Utah is going to keep this within the number. I don't know if they're necessarily going to get the win per se, but they're going to give Washington fits, and I think they're going to do it on the defensive side and keep this game really close. And what I've seen from Washington as of late, something's got to give with that team. Their offense is regressing. I don't think it's going to be they're going to have an explosion anytime soon. As I'm trying to pull up their statistics here, looking at the last four games, I mean, they're really just winning by +7 point differential, minus 40 net yard average in the last 4 games, -2 turnover ratio. So this isn't the numbers that you want to see from a winning program. They're also giving up 774 yards of total offense to their opponents as of late. But the opponents they played, Oregon, Arizona State, Stanford, and USC. And the numbers are just really, really close with them. They did beat USC by 10, but consider the fact that USC's defense isn't very good. Stanford on that one, they only beat by 9. Arizona State, they really struggled. Probably should have lost that game. Barely beat them. And, of course, the win over Oregon, a little bit fraudulent on that one. They had -126 net yard average, -1 turnover ratio, and still got the victory. Missed field goal by Oregon. But I think this is one of those spots that eventually the knife is going to fall. I'm not sure if it's going to be this one or if it's going to be next week versus Oregon State on the road. Maybe a better spot to be taking Oregon State next week and then just let this one pass away. Nope, official play for me. Just lean on the Utah Utes. Wine Time back in here says under. I'm an under guy this weekend. Took 50 -115 on this one. Yeah, I mean, if it's going to be a Utah side on this one, I'm just double checking the total on this one. I'm seeing 49s. You got a good number on that one, Wine Time. If you got 50, I'm seeing 49s, 48.5. So it looks like it's steaming in the downward direction on this one. I don't hate that undertake from you. Looks like 49% of the tickets, 70% of the money are going to the under. As we're sitting here now at 10:20 a.m. Eastern time, that's probably the lean I would have on that one too. Is, you know, if you think you like Utah, I think you'd like the under in that spot. All right. While I got 19 of you beautiful bastards watching me live today, make sure you hit the like button. I put some coffee grounds into the coffee maker. I poured some water into the back of the coffee maker. I hit the button and I let the thing brew and bubble, and it's freshly brewed. It's freshly the smell of the fresh roasted crystals. We pour it, put a little cream, put a little bit of sugar in it, and we call this little ditty the cup. The Cup of Coffee Parlay, sponsored by Viva Tequila Seltzers. Viva Tequila Seltzers, 4.5 ABV, zero carbs, zero sugar. It is the way of life. We drink them on tailgates. We drank them during college football, and we love them. Go check them out at Viva Seltzer and vivaseltzers.com. You can order them. They'll deliver them right to your house. It's a delicious drink, tequila infused, Blanco tequila. It is absolutely an exceptional beverage. With a cup of coffee parlay, I'm going to give it to you now. So get your pens ready. I didn't put it into the banners today. My apologies. But I like Kansas money line, BC money line, Georgia Tech plus 14.5. I'll be talking about that game in a second. I like JMU money line, Georgia State money line, UCF money line versus Oklahoma State. Georgia money line, Oklahoma money line, Georgia Southern money line, Texas A&M money line, Texas money line, Boise State money line, San Jose State money line, and the Oregon money line. That, my friends, is a 14-leg parlay. Let's play a little bit of lottery, and that is plus 14,200 if that one smacks. So if you put $10 on that one, you would win $1,420. So let's have a little bit of fun today with a cup of coffee parlay from the Viva Tequila Seltzer people. Go check them out and go hit that parlay. And if you need to know what the parlay is, you can always hit me in the DMs. I can give that to you before game time. Sorry, I didn't have the banner ready for that one. I little behind schedule today, a little bit disorganized, but we are going to do shows regardless. So let's talk about some of these other top 25 games today. Let's look at this one here. This is actually a big one here, and I think this one is a big one here for Missouri. Tennessee going on the road, going to meet the Missouri Tigers today. That game does kick off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And the line right now looks like the favorite is Tennessee on the road. It looks like I'm seeing 2.5s hit the board. This was a game that I wanted to get on. If you look at the box checking element of it, it plays into the systems that we look for, okay? You have a team looking for revenge. You have a team that's a lot better than they are. You have a team that plays exceptional at home versus away. They're playing a Tennessee team that is not the same Tennessee team. This is a team that put up 60-plus points on Missouri last year. And the line last year was 19. Now you're seeing the line here at 2.5. So there's a significant line regression from year one to year two, which would tell you, hey, let's take Missouri on this one. I wanted to get there. But I thought of something earlier before I started to go to the window and actually place that bet. Not really go to the window, but, go to the apps now. No one goes to the window anymore. And I thought, wait a second, they played Georgia last week. So I started looking into teams of how they performed after Georgia, because when you play Georgia, it's a tough game. You're playing one of the toughest teams. You're playing the champions. I think you give your full forced effort in those games, and it is a absolute drainage and energy. And going into the next week, you may have some regression in there because of it. And quite frankly, with Missouri, they played an exceptional game last week, right? Kept it close, kept it within the number. They actually looked presentable up against Georgia, on the road for that matter. So I started to look at every single team that has played Georgia, because a lot of them played very close. Of course, you know how they cover. I think they've only covered twice this season, Georgia. So I looked at the SEC performances the week after playing Georgia. So when you actually combine the 5 teams in the SEC that they played this season, Auburn, South Carolina, Kentucky, Vandy, and Florida, here's what I found. So they played Auburn. Auburn lost to them 27-20. The next week, they had to go to at LSU on the road, lost 48-18. That is a minus 30 point differential. The spread was 11. They lost that one. South Carolina kept it real close with them too. Very competitive, 24-14, lost by 10. Then they had to go on the road. Actually, they had to go back home, and then they had to go play Mississippi State. They did win that one, kept it within the number. They're the only team that's ever covered after playing Georgia. Then you have Kentucky, 51-13, absolutely demolished by the Georgia Bulldogs by 38 points. Then they go play Missouri and get demolished by Missouri by 17. And they were 1.5-point favorites in that game. Then you got Vandy. Vandy got beat like they normally do by 17, but so they kept it within the number. Then they go against Ole Miss the next week, lose 33-7, 26 points, don't cover the 24. Then you got Florida, largest cocktail party. They got crushed, lost by 23 points in that game. Then they go play Arkansas, their favorite 3 points. They lose that game outright, 39-36. So what you have here is you have 5 teams after playing Georgia, 1-4 against the spread. Granted, these teams are not ranked. Granted, these teams were not ranked when they played Georgia. However, Missouri's probably the best one out of this group. I'm not keen on playing Missouri today because I just think they gave a big, humongous effort versus Georgia, and I'm not confident enough that Missouri is going to get it done in this revenge spot. I think after you play Georgia, it's going to be tough to get up to go play Tennessee. But I could be wrong on that one. I can see both sides on this one. I'd rather be on the Missouri side just based on the systems that I've used in the past. But when I see a stat like that, it just makes me lay off. This is it could go either way for me. I know Shark loves Missouri today, but I didn't want to bring that stat up yesterday, but that was something that I looked at. If you actually looked at, so if you combine everything, you do the averages, after you play Georgia, you're an SEC opponent, you have a minus 13.8 point differential in your next game. So could be seeing a double-digit blowout here with Tennessee favored on the road, but we'll see. I will just intensively watch this one. And quite frankly, Missouri hasn't had a big win all season. Every time they've gone against a ranked opponent, you saw it against LSU. They lost by double digits in that game. Pick 6, didn't get the cover. And now they're in another position again versus a ranked opponent. It's nothing I can back right now. I'm rooting for the Missouri Tigers. I like them. I like what Eli Drinkowitz is doing in there. I love Luther Burden. I think he's one of, if not the best wide receiver in college football that nobody talks about. Just a complete pass for me on this one with this Tennessee-Missouri game. All right, let's get into some picks. All right, let's get into the brass tacks of everything. Let's talk a little bit of Oklahoma State versus UCF. UCF playing at home in the bounce house versus an Oklahoma State off a tremendous win in Bedlam versus Oklahoma. Rush the field student type of element. Highly motivated game. And also Oklahoma State just playing way above their pay grade the past 5 or 6 games. Let's talk about where these two teams come from. UCF 4-5 straight up, 3-6 ATS this season, but they're 1-5 straight up versus conference opponents. Now you got to look at Oklahoma on this one. 7-2 straight up, 6-3 ATS, and on a 5-game winning streak, including Bedlam, like I said, 27-24. But they lost in net yards just barely, minus 12 net yards. Now you got to look at UCF. What do they want to do? They want to run the ball. They average 5.7 yards per carry this season. 2 tremendous running back weapons in RJ Harvey and Johnny Richardson. Both of them average 6 yards per carry. But when you look at Oklahoma State, they're very weak and susceptible of giving up rushing yards to their opponents. They give up 4.6 yards per carry overall, but they've given up over 5 yards per carry in 4 out of their last 5 games. So that is going to be a problem trying to stop this UCF offense. Oklahoma State is due for some regression as well. Like I said, they've won 5 straight, and 4 of those were at home. So them going on the road here is not the best position here for Oklahoma State, unfortunately, especially when you get most of your wins at home. So I think Oklahoma State here is just running a little bit too hot for their britches. You're seeing this line like exceptionally short here, especially with a UCF team that is 1-5 straight up versus conference opponents this season. I think this is a great spot for UCF. And actually, if you compare it to how they played against Oklahoma, UCF really kept that game very close and scared the hell out of the Sooners, almost beating them. I think they get it done here in the bounce house. Give me UCF here, and I got plus 2.5, 2-unit special. As we're looking at the board here, I'm seeing still 2.5 out there. You might as well sprinkle a little bit on the money line. I don't hate that one. My official play, though, is going to be plus 2.5 on a 2-unit banger. So go grab that while you still can. All right, as we go down the list of the top 25, and make sure you guys get into the chat. I want to talk to you guys. I can sit here all day, drink my coffee, put my feet up, watch a little college game day if you want me to. Whatever you guys want me to do. This chat is for you guys. So just come in here. Let's talk. Let's talk some ball. We can talk some college basketball if you want. Haven't looked at the board today. I may just lay off the board completely because I just need to see a little bit more statistical analytics on some of these games. I'm trying to find spots, playing quarter units on a lot of this stuff, but it's really tough. A lot of going 2-2, 3-3, playing even ball. I had one bad day, which is really costing me on this one, but I'm only playing with quarter units, so it's not like it's really hit my bankroll. But I want to hear your thoughts. Maybe we talk a little college ball as well. Why not? College hoops, I mean. All right. Let's go down into another big game here in the SEC. Athens, Georgia will be rocking here as Ole Miss still in playoff contention, playing a Georgia team that really Georgia does this every single year. They play to the level of the competition versus weaker opponents, but when the lights are their brightest, we always see Georgia shine. And you see in the line here, as I'm going down the board here, 7 p.m. tip. And it looks like Georgia's sitting here at minus 10.5, minus 11 on the board. I kind of like the Georgia side on this one. It seems like every time we get into these game spots, Georgia just gets it done and they demolish a ranked opponent right in front of your eyes, and you realize Georgia is Georgia. I don't care who's missing. I don't care who's hurt. For the Georgia side, Georgia is always a next man up mentality. I don't think we've actually seen the athleticism and the production out of Beck, the quarterback for Georgia. So we may be able to see it here. Probably going to be a lot of points scored in this one, in my opinion. But I just think that Ole Miss is playing the team above their pay grade, and this is where the cheese kind of falls off the cracker for them, and they come back down to reality. Georgia's just not a team you want to bet against right now, especially on the back end of the season. This is when they step up. This is when Kirby Smart gets his guys riled up in games exactly like this. I look at Georgia like Usain Bolt in the 100-meter dash. When it comes to the quarterfinals, when it comes to the semifinals, they do just enough to get the W's. But when it comes down to that final, that last race, like a game like this, that's where Georgia boat races you and demolishes you and humanizes you in front of the entire nation. And I think they do it today here. Not an official play for me, but I like the Georgia side on this one. As we get back into the chat, let's talk some ball. What do you think about Arkansas? You know what? I did look at that game. I know they're playing Auburn. Auburn on the road with Hugh Freeze. I was trying to find an angle to take Arkansas. Arkansas is one of those teams that is just, they play within the level of their competition. They keep games close with big teams, and when it comes down to teams they're supposed to beat, they just don't finish, right? So you have this team on a 1-6 run right now. They're off a big win versus Florida at Florida. Tough place to play. Great win at the Swamp for them. I think there's a little bit of carryover. They have 3 wins right now. They could get bowl contention, and maybe that's what the coaching staff over there is going to try to do. Sam Pittman and the boys. So they have 3 home games: Auburn, FIU, and Missouri, it looks like. So maybe they're in a position where they want to finish strong, or maybe they've given up on the season. I don't know. I really don't know. They did beat Florida last week, so I think they want to play for something. Maybe that's the motivational factor for them. Auburn on the other side, tough spot on the road. You actually look at their numbers and their splits on the road. They have a minus 7-point differential. They only put up 287 yards of total offense versus putting 410 at home. And they have a minus 89 net yard average with a +1 turnover ratio. So they don't play their best ball on the road. That sample size, you got to take with a grain of salt. They played Cal A&M, LSU, Vandy. So, I mean, I guess a decent sample size because you get a little bit of the wins and a little bit of the losses mixed in there. But their offense is really regressed when they go on the road. So I think that's a problem for them. And with Arkansas, they just play better ball at home this season. You actually look at their splits. They got a 30-16 average on that one. That should put them at plus 14 point differential, plus 84 net yard average. So they do play exceptional at home, but I don't know where the motivation is. Are they ready to just pack it up and go into next season, or are they just ready to really step up in these last 3 games and try to get themselves into a bowl? We'll see. I wanted to take Arkansas on this one, and I lean towards the Arkansas side personally, but I can't play this game because I just don't know if the motivation's there with Arkansas. Listen, Arkansas screwed me in a lot of close situations this season. And they played close with Alabama. They played, but they got smoked by Texas A&M. We were on Texas A&M in that game. Ole Miss is another spot, really kept it close with them. And then they go to Mississippi State and lay an egg. They did fire their offensive coordinator right after that game. And in the next week, they put up 39 points. So maybe we see a little bit of, upward snide with the offense. And we may see it here today. And maybe we have looks at the end of the season. They're playing Auburn today. FIU is probably a automatic win for them. And then they got to go play Missouri at the end of the season. Maybe it's a good spot to wait and see if they win this game. And then we should jump on them against Missouri. So I'm looking a little bit ahead on this one as I'm talking this out. No official play for me on that one with Arkansas. I talked that up a little bit too much, but hopefully that was good information for you. Coin in here says, seeing Michigan is 0-3 to the under without Harbaugh this year, leaning on the under. Yeah, I mean, when you look at that line, I mean, that's a pretty low total for a Penn State Michigan type of game, I think. They basically just saying to me when I look at that line, it's going to be a rock fight. So, going to be interesting to see how they come out. And at least you're going to know if this is going to be an under in the first quarter, I think. But I probably lean towards the under on that one for sure, Coin. Looks like Jose Sierra coming into the chat. He's giving some plays out here. He likes Wofford today, -2.5, and he likes William and Mary here on the plus. Appreciate you sharing, my brother. And then, of course, Flea in the chat says, looks on Arkansas Auburn. Already gave you that look. And then you want GT and Clemson. No problem, Flea. I will be able to talk about that game because I have a pick on that one. And this is my third pick. Let's talk Georgia Tech versus Clemson on this one. Where is Georgia Tech coming from? They're coming off back-to-back wins, including a road win versus UVA, 45-17. I misread that game. I loved UVA in that one, and it was a bad spot. But Georgia Tech is playing exceptional right now. Plus 63 net yards in that game, plus 3 turnover ratio was the deciding factor. Absolute dominance from Georgia Tech. Clemson coming off a win themselves over a ranked opponent. They beat my Irish 31-23, despite losing the net yardage in that one, -45 net yards, but they had a +1 turnover ratio, deciding factor in that game. Kept it close, got the W as the dog. As we take a sip of coffee. While Clemson is off a big win, they have underperformed in their past 4 games. They have a -1 point differential, plus 50 net yard average, and a -1 turnover ratio. Georgia Tech has excelled in their past 4 games. So I'm looking at this team on the rise with a Clemson team that is regressing. They're off upset wins. They beat Miami. They beat UNC back-to-back. And then they go into UVA and demolish them. So this team is actually stepping up in the right spots late in the season. They have a +5 point differential, -23 net yards, +1 turnover ratio in the last 4 games. Now you got to look how these teams perform versus conference opponents. Clemson versus conference opponents has a -4 point differential, plus 86 net yard average, -4 turnover ratio. Turnovers have been a real big factor here for Clemson. Klubnik throwing a lot of picks and really just fumbles, what have you. They're really not taking care of the football. But Georgia Tech on the other side, when they're playing against conference opponents, exceptional. +5 point differential, -14 net yard average, +7 turnover ratio. So you have this team that is ball hogs, hungry, getting the turnovers for their team, and then you're going against a team that gives up the ball a lot here with Clemson. These two teams meet every single year. Clemson dominating this matchup. The line has been no less than 24 points in the past 4 meetings. And now you're seeing this line at 14.5. This has been the lowest spread between these two teams in God knows how long. So when you see the line here dropping this far, you have to be jumping on the Georgia Tech side, in my opinion. Now you got to look at Georgia Tech. Absolutely great on the road as a dog. 8-2 ATS in their last 10, 5-1 ATS versus conference opponents, where Clemson is 5-10 ATS after a win. Home team in this one, 1-5 ATS in the last 6 meetings. So this is all the trends are telling you, fade Clemson, take Georgia Tech. Right here, I think Georgia Tech is a team that is good. That this is as good as of a Georgia Tech that you've seen in years. Clemson is absolutely vulnerable. This is the weakest team Dabo Swinney has had probably since he even took the coaching job at Clemson. You see in the line regression from year 1 to year 2, it dropped 10 points, and it dropped 10 points with Georgia Tech being on the road this season. So that's a key indicator, red flag there as well. I like Georgia Tech here. I got it plus 14.5. I'm looking at the board here just to make sure that the number still stands. It looks like the 14.5s are still there, staying relatively dormant on that one. But I like Georgia Tech here, plus 14.5 versus Clemson here on the road. 2.5 unit play for me officially. As we go back to the chat, looks like Paul Battles says, excellent info. You're welcome on that Arkansas play. Hey, let's look at everything, man. I don't care if we're looking at the SEC, the ACC, the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, the MAC. I don't even know if there's any MAC games this week. Probably not. They only play Tuesday and Wednesday, so we can't really look at the MAC. Let's look at everything. Let's get down to the grimiest of grimy plays. I'm ready to talk some ball, baby. Woo! So while we got 16 new people, I don't know if you heard it. I don't know if you've been talking about it. It is the hottest thing in the universe of college football parlays. It's a cup of coffee parlay. Let's do it. Cup of coffee parlay, sponsored by Viva Tequila Celsius. Viva Tequila Celsius, 4.5 ABV, 0 carbs, 0 sugar. The greatest delicious drink for all your tailgating and college football needs. Go check them out at vivaseltzer.com. And I'm going to read this out to you. If you actually want to tail the parlay, you can DM me. I will give that out. Actually, I will probably just post it on my Twitter later. Apologize I didn't put it in the banners. But we're talking some ball here with a 14-leg lottery ticket, as we always do every single Saturday. Kansas money line. We love BC money line. We took Georgia Tech at the plus 14.5. Didn't want to take them on the money line. Obviously, I don't think they're going to win that game, but I think they're going to keep it close. JMU money line. We have to throw a big boy in there. Georgia State money line, UCF money line, Georgia money line, Oklahoma money line, Georgia Southern money line, Texas A&M money line, Texas money line, Boise State money line, San Jose State money line, and Oregon money line. That is a plus 14,200 parlay, 14-legger. So if you put $10 on it, you get $1,420. Listen, we're not putting big money on this parlay, okay? It's a very tough play to do. It's a ridiculous parlay. I'm a straight better. I'm not a parlay. But I love to put a little bit of a lottery ticket every single Saturday that's not going to cost me a lot of money. You put $10 on. That's all you do. There's 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks, maybe even 1.5 cups of coffee at Starbucks. I don't even know what Starbucks coffee costs now. It's like over $5. But Dunky's a little bit cheaper than that. So just take that with a grain of salt. Don't put a lot of money on this one. We're just having a little fun here on a Saturday morning. All right, let's go back to the chat. Mario C says Pac-12 picks. Let me look at what I got here cooking today. As I'm going through my notes here, going up the board, see if I could find you a good Pac-12 game to feast on that I like the most. Wow, I really didn't have any looks at the Pac-12 this week. That is funny. Bear with me a second. I'm going to pull up the board here, see if I can find a play. Do. All right. Let's go to the Pac-12. All right. So we have Arizona, Colorado, Utah versus Washington, Washington State versus Cal, Stanford versus Oregon State playing at home. Arizona State versus UCLA and USC versus Oregon. Out of those plays, I probably like the Cal side the best, to be honest with you, versus Washington State. I think Cal's in a revenge spot. They're favored at home. It's a little bit scary to me. That's probably why I didn't play it, because I like them better as a dog, personally. But I think Cal's in a good spot here. You got them favored here at -2.5. They're 3-6 for the year, 1-5 in the Pac-12, and they're going against a Washington State team that is just absolutely regressing in front of our eyes week to week. They're 4-5 this year, straight up, but they're not a backable team here on the road versus Cal. I think that's probably the best spot to look at. I also like the Utah side a little bit, but that line is going on the upward side. A little bit scary on this one. It's probably why I didn't play it, because I thought that line was a little bit big with the Utah. I would have thought it would be, if it was a Utah line, I thought it'd be a lot closer than that, probably within a possession, but now it's getting over 2. Tough spot for me to take that one. You look at the Arizona and Colorado side. I lean on Colorado, but the problem is I cannot take that one because Colorado's defense is so terrible. They will not make stops when you need them to, and you could lose that game by more than 2 scores. Stanford and Oregon State. I lean on Oregon State always at home. Their favorite 3 possessions on this one, actually more than 3 possessions. That's going to be a tough one here for me to take as well. Just too many points on that one. But I'm not going to take Stanford either, because Stanford could just get beat by 40 in that game, especially in Corvallis. USC and Oregon, which should be an interesting game. Could be a lot of points on this one. I trust Oregon over anything in these spots, especially when they're favored by double digits. Their coach has no mercy in those spots. And I think USC is just an unbackable team at this point. They're a team that's just going to continue to regress and regress and regress. They got exposed versus Notre Dame, and they've just been absolutely terrible since that game. And I think it's going to be another terrible game on this one. Lean on the Oregon side in that spot. But I think the best look for the Pac-12 is the Cal side. Woo! As we get here to the 49th minute of this broadcast, I got to say, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't do so already. And make sure you hit the bell so you know every time that we go live here, because we are just giving exceptional information always, win, lose, or draw, and you make the plays based on our information. But listen, we're on the back half of the season. We got 3 weeks left of really regular season football. Then we have the conference championships, and then we're right in the bowl season. And you know what we do during bowl season? We absolutely rake up the units, and we stay in the positive. We're in the positive right now, and we plan on staying in the positive this season with college football. And of course, we're doing absolutely electric. We're doing great in the NFL. NFL has actually been my best sport this year, ironically enough. But I usually make my units now in college football. Historically, I'm 80 plus units in the last 3 years in college football. This year, I'm up like 6 or 7. So we're just going to keep mowing along here. And just get into the chat. Let's talk about some plays. I'm here for you guys. I'll be here for another 10 minutes at least to talk with you boys about college football or just life in general. What else do you want to talk about in this one? All right. Actually, let's talk about this game. USC versus Oregon. I did talk about it a little bit, and I'm probably going to repeat myself in a lot of these takes. But USC is a falling knife. I'm going to pull up their stats here to tell you about how bad this team is as of late. So when you look at them, they're 1-3 straight up in their last 4. Okay. They have a -10 point differential, -29 net yard average, -1 turnover ratio, and they're 1-3 straight up. I think actually 0-4 against the spread as well. This is a team that you just can't back right now. The offense is clicking, the defense is not. They've given up almost over 500 yards of total offense in their past 3 games. They only gave up 251 to Notre Dame, which is remarkable enough, but there's a lot of turnovers that happened in that game, which killed that. They didn't really need the offense for that one. They gave up 482 to Utah, 527 to Cal, and 572 to Washington. Their defense is awful. It's so bad that the head coach had to fire their defensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley had to fire that guy. That guy was absolutely awful. So maybe there's going to be a little change in the guy. Maybe that's a positive movement in the right direction, going with a new DC. But I need to see it in real life versus this Oregon team. And Oregon is on a team on a mission. They got a chip on their shoulder. They're ready to play, and they've been playing exceptionally well. They have a plus 21 point differential in their last 4 games, plus 158 net yard average, plus 1 turnover ratio. And they did this versus Utah, Cal, Washington State, and that includes the loss to Washington. So ever since that loss to Washington, they've just been cleaning up. They beat Washington State 38-24. They beat Utah on the road in Utah 35-6. Unbelievable. You don't do that to Utah unless you're a good team, especially in Utah. Wow. Cal 63-19. And you know what USC did with Cal? That game was ridiculously close when they played each other. So if you want to look at that as a sample size, I think USC gets stomped here. I don't think they're going to let their foot off the gas pedal. You need to be back in Oregon, especially as a double-digit favorite. If you actually look at the numbers with Dan Lanning as the coach as a double-digit favorite, he always seems to cover. I think it's like an 80% hit rate. I don't care if it's public. I don't care if it's square. I just think USC is an unbackable team right now. And this is just an exceptional Oregon offense. You saw what they did to Colorado when they played them. They're not going to score points. They're not going to move the ball. They're going to have a tough time. And of course, what is Oregon going to do versus that thin sliced USC defense? They're just going to carve them up. So Bo Nix making a Heisman run. He's going to do it today. Give me Oregon. That's my lean. Unofficial play. I might put some pizza money on that game, but I'll wait. All right, back to the chat. Mario C says he agrees with the Cal side. Hey, I almost made an official play. I just couldn't get there. Like I said, I love Cal as a dog. I don't like him as a favorite. Paul Battle says, what about Alabama and Kentucky? Yeah, interesting spot on that one. Let's pull up the numbies for the boys. That game is going to be at 12 p.m. on the road. Alabama versus Kentucky. Looks like the line is at -11. Road favorites here for Bama. Looking at the schedule and the situation for Bama, I'm pulling up the numbers. Off that big win versus LSU last week, 42-28, absolutely dominating them in all fashions with a plus 29 net yard average. They did give up 478 yards total offense and 8.6 yards per carry to LSU, but got the victory, dominated them. +1 turnover ratio, won by 14 points. They got Kentucky, and then they got Chattanooga next, so there's no real look ahead for them. And then they got at Auburn at the Iron Bowl to finish off the season. So really, they got the weakest of all weakest schedules. That line right there, -11. If you actually look at the matchup when these two teams meet, they haven't met since 2020. It looks like Alabama does have the edge on this one. The home team is 1-6 ATS when they play each other. But take that with a grain of salt. Those are stats that go all the way back to 2003. I don't know about this one. I just passed on it because there's no historical matchups year to year with these two teams. I do think Alabama is going to win this game, but I don't know what Alabama is going to come out. They've been playing really well in their last 2 games, dominating Tennessee, dominating LSU at home. But now they go back on the road here. On the road, they have a decent point differential that is above the 11. And of course, Kentucky, I don't know about that team at all. What's their motivation right now? You look at their stats, they're 1-3 straight up in the last 4 games, getting demolished by Georgia, demolished by Missouri, demolished by Tennessee. They win at Mississippi State 24-3. Now they go back home and play another powerhouse team. Can they keep it close? Maybe, but it's nothing I'm going to be playing here personally. That's just a watch and see. I don't know if there's going to be another game I'm going to play with Alabama until if they make the SEC championship. That's probably the next time I'm going to even look at an Alabama play because they're just playing nobodies at this point. They got Kentucky, Chattanooga, and the Iron Bowl, and it's at Auburn, and Auburn's just not there yet. Hugh Freeze will get them there, but they're not there yet. So this is a complete pass for me. I would probably lay off this game completely. Mario in the chat says, you think Michigan coach suspension will affect them today against PSU? Well, if the line tells you the story, the answer is no, because the line didn't move an inch. When that news came out, I went directly to my phone to go look at the line on the game, and it stayed at 4.5. It's like when a player goes out, people get too into that stuff as far as the production of a team. Like like in the NFL, for example, if a key wide receiver is out, look at the line. If it affected the line, it affects the team. If the books think it doesn't have any effect, the line won't move. And in this case, it's not moving. I think with this game, it doesn't really matter who's on the sidelines for them. I think Harbaugh is going to be in somebody's ear regardless with the decision maker on this one. I don't think even whoever the interim coach is not going to be the key decision maker on this one. I think Harbaugh is going to have some insight. He's just not supposed to be on the sideline. I don't know what that means as far as can he call in? Can he sit at home and talk to his guys remotely? I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it means anything. If anything, when you look at the first 4 games of the season with Michigan without their coach, they were motivated. They played for their coach. And I think they're going to play for their coach here. However, this is tougher competition that they've seen all season. And they're going to go through a gauntlet right now. They have Penn State. I wish Maryland was better right now, but they're not. And then they got to go play Ohio State. So I think if there's a spot for Penn State to win a game, it's here. But historically, Franklin, he's always let you down. I think they can keep it within the number, but I don't know who's going to win this game. So as far as your question, I don't think whether Harbaugh's on the sideline or not, it's not going to affect that team whatsoever. I think the decision making will still remain. The offensive coordinator is going to make his calls. Defensive coordinator is going to make his calls. They know what to do. I mean, exceptional coaching staff, especially with the sign stealing. I'm just kidding. So for those that missed it, I gave 3 plays on this one as we hit 58 minutes into the broadcast. 21 of you beautiful bastards are watching me right live. How about you hit the like button for me if you like the information that I'm giving you today? And make sure you hit the notification bell and the subscribe button as well. That is what helps us. We give this information to you, Shark and I, for the low price of $0.00. All we ask for you is to take a little effort, move that mouse over by the video. There's a thumb that goes like this. You just tap it with your little clicky thing. Just click, click, click. And that is enough for us as payment. Going back to the chat as Christopher gets in here, it's like, do you feel it is a stranger motivation for the players to prove themselves on Michigan? I think the players are going to, there's a lot of stuff going on with that program right now. They're winning games. They're still going out there and playing every single week. I think the players are kind of ignoring the noise. I think they're already prepped at this point to deal with the noise, to deal with everything that's going on with that program right now. I think they're going to step up into every single game and play their best ball no matter what. I don't think this whatever's going on with the NCAA violations, the suspensions, what have you, I think the players are just kind of tunnel vision with that and just going out there to focus on playing ball. I think this is a well-coached program. Harbaugh's got those guys prepped for this stuff. So, and even going into this, he probably talked to his team and says, listen, settle in, guys. We are fine. We've been here before. I wasn't here for the first 4 games. You guys know what to do. And they're already prepped to not have their coach. They've already done it this season. So I don't think there's going to be any effect on this one. little bit of a motivation in there. But I think Penn State's motivated too. They got to be able to win a big game, and hopefully they get over the snide on this one. We'll see. Jay in the chat going in there. Does Oklahoma State win today? No, I actually one of my plays today. If you were here earlier, I gave out UCF. I like UCF today plus 2.5. I think it's a letdown spot here for Oklahoma State. You're playing way above your pay grade. Most of your games have been at home in your winning streak, and now you got to go to the bounce house, a tough place to play in general. And you've already seen what UCF can do versus Oklahoma. They had to do that on the road, and they kept that game close. I think UCF is a live dog here. They may win that game outright. I love that side here today. Do they win? I mean, it's two. I mean, if you're asking if they win, it's 2.5. I don't think they win. I think they lose this game, but that's going to be fine. I mean, you've done an exceptional job. I think, Oklahoma State has kind of surprised me a little bit. I did say take their over of 6.5 wins, and I think that's going to hit. I think it's already hit on that one, correct? They've done more than what people expected out of them this season. They're playing really good ball. They beat Kansas State, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and at West Virginia. Tough place to win. I just think this is one of those spots you're just going to be let down. You got Houston next week and BYU. I think you finished those with 2 wins. But in this spot in the bounce house, a team that's just really hungry for a conference win. The line is so low, so short. I don't understand why UCF is that low of a number. But when the line tells me a story, I usually go with the narrative. So I think this is going to be a tough spot here for Oklahoma State. And Christopher says, yeah, I agree with that. Got it. I can see it. And then Jace, just thanks, man. And it's all I want, man. Just hit the like button while you're there. So just to recap for the plays that if you guys missed it, I talked about the App State, Georgia State side. I like Georgia State here. That's a collaboration with me and the Shark. Minus 2.5. Georgia State keeps receipts, and so does Georgia Southern. Those two teams have just been absolutely in revenge tour mode on both sides. I'm also on Georgia Southern today. If you watched the show last night, that was an official play. I'm also on UCF, like we just talked about, plus 2.5. I also said sprinkle on the money line. And I like Georgia Tech here versus Clemson. Off a letdown spot after that big win versus Notre Dame. Clemson, Georgia Tech is, when they play exceptional competition in the ACC, they seem to be stepping up. The line regression tells you to take Georgia Tech, and I got them at plus 14.5, and I think that's enough for me. Also, I talked about some of the top 25. I like Penn State today as a lean. I talked about Texas Tech and Kansas. Lean towards the Kansas side, but I'm not going to play that one. Not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. Utah versus Washington. I think maybe Utah can keep this game close, but that number scares me a little bit above a possession. I thought that number should be lower, but Utah's not playing at home. I can't take them here. I'm sorry. So lean towards the Utah side, but no play on that one. Same thing with Tennessee. It seems like all signs point to taking Missouri on this one. But Missouri has not beaten a ranked opponent yet. It seems like every time they play a ranked opponent, they don't step up into those roles quite yet. So Eli Drinkowitz due for one of those. I think this might be the spot. However, there's always regression with teams that play Georgia in the next week, as I talked about, with a minus 13.8 point differential in the next week versus their next opponent after playing Georgia. Ole Miss versus Georgia. Lean on the Georgia side on this one. Georgia, when the lights are brightest, they demolish their opponents, and Ole Miss just ain't ready for the Bulldogs. And USC versus Oregon. Lean hard towards the Oregon side. May add it officially later on. That is a 10:30 p.m. game. I don't think Oregon is going to mess around with USC at all. I think they demolish them. Dan Lanning as a double-digit favorite is nobody you want to be fading at all. Also, gave out the cup of coffee parlay. I gave you a 14-legger on that one. I'm not going to repeat myself on that legger. If you are interested in tailing it, just hit me in the DMs at GunzPicks. I will make sure you get it, and I'll try to post it on my Twitter as well for anybody that wants to tail. And really, that's going to be it for the show as we hit the hour and 5 minutes. I appreciate all you guys joining me here this morning and every morning. A lot of you regulars in here. Just want to shout out Justin, Flea, the Smitty, Wine Time as always. Love you, brother. Paul, Battle, Coin, Jose, Mario, and all the boys, JS, Christopher. Thanks for joining. Thanks for engaging in the chat. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so we can keep this train moving along here on the Sharky Waters Nation channel. I'll be back next week, Saturday, as always, to talk a little bit of ball. Probably be joined with some guests. Tough week. A lot of people had scheduling issues, so I had to do this alone. But nonetheless, we always have a show. So every 10 a.m., come join me. Coffee and mornings with GunzPicks. Everyone's saying thanks. I appreciate all you guys. Let's dominate the board. Let's crush the books. We will be back tomorrow to talk a little NFL with the Shark and the Odds Fellow, breaking down the games for Week 10 NFL football. So thanks for everybody. Thanks for joining. Let's dominate the books. And as always, let's keep dancing. Bang. Yeah.